Scrum. What is this? Main approaches. The relay race approach to product development may conflict with the goals of maximum speed and flexibility, instead of holistic or rugby approach, where a team tries to go the distance as a unit. Passing the ball back and forth may better serve today's competitive requirements. It took from the book The New Product Development Game, Harvard Business Review, January 1986. Possibilities of Scrum. Scrum is an agile process that allows us to focus on delivering the highest business value in the shortest time. It allows us to rapidly and repeatedly inspect actual working software every 2 weeks to 1 month. The business sets the priorities. Teams self-organize to determine the best way to deliver the highest priority features. Every 2 weeks to a month, anyone can see real working software and decide to realize it as is or continue to enhance of it for another sprint. How Scrum works. We have product backlog, sprint backlog, daily Scrum meeting, 2 till 4 weeks for one sprint, and potential shippable product increment. Scrum project make progress in a series of sprints, analogous to extreme programming iteration. Typical duration is 2-4 weeks or calendar month at most. A constant duration leads to a better rhythm. Product is designed, coded and testing during the sprint. No changes during a sprint. Plan sprint duration around how long you can commit to keep change out of the sprint. What's the difference between Scrum and non-agile methodologies? The main items in Scrum: individuals and iterations, working software, customer collaboration, responding to change. And main items non-agile methodologies: process and tools, comprehensive documentation, contract negotiation, following a plan. Scrum framework. We have 3 parts in Scrum framework: artifacts, roles, and activities. Artifacts includes product backlog, sprint backlog, burn down charts. Roles includes product owner, scrum master, and team. Activities includes sprint planning, daily scrum meeting, sprint review, and sprint retrospective. Artifacts. Everything starts from product backlog. This is product backlog is the heart of Scrum. This is where it all starts. It's basically a prioritized list of requirements or stories or features. Things that the customer wants described using the customer terminology. Product backlog includes the requirements, a list of all desired work on the project, ideally expressed such that each item has value to the users or customers of the product. Prioritized by the product owner. Reprioritized at the start of each sprint. Product backlog contains stories or items. Stories include the following fields: ID, name, importance, initial estimate, how to demo, demonstration, notes. ID of a story: a unique identification, just an auto-incriminated number. This is to avoid losing track of stories when we rename them. Name of a story: a short descriptive name of the story. For example, see your own transaction history. Clear enough so that developers and the product owner understand approximately what we are talking about, and clear enough to distinguish it from other stories, normally 2-10 words. Importance of a story: the product owner's importance rating for this story, for example 10 or 150. High equal more important. Initial estimate of a story: the team's initial assessment of how much work is needed to implement this story compared to other stories. The unit is story points and usually corresponds roughly to ideal man days. How to demonstrate a story: a high-level description of how this story will be demonstrated at the sprint demo. This is essential as simple test spec. Do this, then do that, then this should happen. Notes of a story: any other info, clarification, references to other sources of info, etc. Normally very brief. Product backlog example. You have 6 columns: ID, name, importance, estimate, how to demo, and notes. First story: ID 1, name of the story, deposit, importance 30, estimate 5, how to demo, login, open deposit page, deposit 10 euro, go to my balance page and check that it has increased by 10 euro. Notes: need a UML sequence diagram. No need to worry about encryptions for now. And the second story: ID 2, name, see your own transaction history, importance 10, estimate 8, how to demo, login, check on transaction, do a deposit, go back to transaction, check the new deposit shows up. Notes: use paging to avoid large DB queries. Design similar to view user page. Everything clear. Product backlog. Product backlog can contain lots of other fields, but these 6 fields actually used sprint after sprint in variety leading companies. Sprint backlog. The sprint backlog is the list of work the development team must address during the next sprint. The list is derived by selection product backlog items from the top of the product backlog until the development team feels it has enough work to fill the sprint. Sprint backlog. This is done by the development team asking, can we also do this? and adding product backlog items to the sprint backlog. The development team should keep in mind its past performance, assessing its capacity for the new sprint, and use this as a guideline of how much effort they can complete. Burn-down charts. A burn-down chart is a graphical representation of work left to do versus time. Estimate work remaining in story points 10, 20, 30, and date, except holidays. With holidays, burn-down charts will be strange. Burn-down charts. This chart shows that on the first day of the sprint, August 1, the team estimates that there is approximately 70 story points of work left to do. This was in effect the estimate velocity of the whole sprint. On August 16, the team estimates that there is approximately 15 story points of work left to do. The dashed trends line shows that they are approximately on track, i.e. at this pace they will complete everything by the end of the sprint. Warning signals. A quick glance at the task board should give anyone an indication of how well the sprint is progressing. You see, this diagram should tell, ouch, need to remove some backlog items from the sprint. Or this one, need to add some backlog items to the sprint because too low. Scrum framework. Roles: product owner, Scrum master, and team. Product owner. The product owner represents the stakeholders and is the voice of the customer. He or she is accountable for ensuring that the team delivers value to the business. The product owner should be on the business side of the project and should never interfere or interact with team members on the technical aspect of the development task. This role is equivalent to the customer representative one. Part of the product owner's responsibilities is to have a vision of what he or she wishes to build and convey that vision to the Scrum team. This is key to successfully starting any agile software development project. The agile product owner does this in part through the product backlog, which is a prioritized features list for the product. The product owner does not get to say, we have 4 sprints left, therefore you must do 1/4 of the product backlog this sprint. The Scrum product owner's job is to motivate the team with a clear, elevating goal. Team members know best that they are capable of, and so they select which user stories from the top of the product backlog they can commit to delivering during any sprint. What product owner should to do? Define the features of the product. Decide on release date and content. The responsible for the profitability of the product ROI. Prioritize features according to market value. Adjust features and priority every iteration as needed. Accept or reject work result. Scrum Master. The Scrum Master is responsible for making sure a Scrum team lives by the values and practice of Scrum. The Scrum Master is often considered a coach of the team, helping the team do the best work it possibly can. The Scrum Master can also be thought of as a process owner of the team, creating a balance with the project's key stakeholder, who is referred to as the product owner. The Scrum Master does any possible to help the team perform at their highest level. This involves removing any impediments to progress, facilitating meetings, and doing things like working with the product owner to make sure the product backlog is in good shape and ready for the next sprint. The Scrum Master role is commonly filled by a former project manager or a technical team leader, but can be anyone. What Scrum Master should do? Represent management to the project. Responsible for anything enacting Scrum values and practices. Removes impediments. Ensure that the team is fully functional and productive. Enable close cooperation across all roles and functions. Shield the team from external interferences. The Scrum Master has three core responsibilities: coach the team, keep the team moving forward, help anyone understand Scrum. Coach the team. The Scrum Master helps the entire team perform better. They help the product owner understand how to create and maintain the product backlog so the project is well defined and work flows smoothly to the team. They also work with the whole Scrum team to determine a definition of done. The Scrum Master coaches the team on how to execute the Scrum process, helping them to learn and use the framework and find and implement technical practice so they can reach done at the end of each sprint. Keep the team moving forward. As a servant leader, the Scrum Master fosters the team's self-organization and then sees the distraction and impediments of roadblocks to the team's progress and removed. Impediments may be external to the team, like lack of support from another team, or they could be internal, like the product owner not knowing how to prepare a proper product backlog. They may also facilitate regular team meeting to ensure what the team progress on its path to done. Help everyone understand Scrum. The Scrum Master ensures the Scrum is understood and in place, both inside and outside the team. They help people to outside the team understand the process, as well as which interaction with the team are helpful and which are not. The Scrum Master helps everyone improve to make the Scrum team more productive and valuable. Team. A Scrum team in a Scrum environment does not include any of traditional software engineering roles such as programmer, designer, tester, or architect. Everyone on the project works together to complete the set of work they have collectively committed to complete within a sprint. Because of this, Scrum teams develop a deep form of camaraderie and feeling that we are all in this together. Teams are self-organizing. Ideally, no titles, but rarely a possibility. Membership should change only between sprints. Scrum framework again. Artifacts, roles, and activities. Now we talk about activities. Sprint planning, daily Scrum meeting, sprint review, and sprint retrospective. Sprint planning. Sprint planning is a critical meeting, probably the most important event in Scrum. A badly executed sprint planning meeting can mess up a whole sprint. In Scrum, the sprint planning meeting is attended by the product owner, Scrum Master, and the entire Scrum team. Outside stakeholders may attend by invitation of the team, although this is rare in most companies. There are two defined artifacts that result from a sprint planning meeting: a sprint goal, a sprint backlog. How we spend sprint planning? We have team capacity, product backlog, business conditions, current product, and technology. Sprint prioritization. Analyze and evaluate product backlog. Select sprint goal. We have sprint goal. Sprint planning. Decide how to achieve sprint goal. Design. Create sprint backlog tasks from product backlog items, user story and features. Estimate sprint backlog in hours. We have sprint backlog. The product owner reprioritizes the product backlog. The product owner and Scrum team meet to determine the work that can be completed in the next sprint. Work is selected from the top of the priority list by the team. The product owner and the team establish a goal for the sprint. The team is expected to select only work which they can commit to finishing, according to the definition of done. Selected items are broken down into sprint backlog tasks. Team estimation is informed by performance on previous sprints, capacity for the forthcoming sprint, and the relative complexity of the task required to deliver the sprint goal. Example of a typical schedule. Sprint planning meeting, 1 p.m. till 5 p.m. 10-minute break each hour. 1 p.m. till 1:30. Product owner goes through sprint goal and summarizes product backlog. Demo place, date and time is set. 1:30 till 3 p.m. Team time estimates and breaks down item as necessary. Product owner updates importance rating as necessary. Items are clarified how to demo. Is filled in for all high importance items. 3 p.m. till 4 p.m. Teams select stories to be included in sprint. Do velocity calculation as a reality check. 4 p.m. 5 p.m. Select time and place for daily Scrum, if different from last sprint. Further breakdown of stories into tasks. Daily Scrum meeting. Parameters: daily, 15 minutes, stand up, not for problem solving. whole world is invited. Only team members, Scrum Master, Product Owner can talk. Helps avoid other unnecessary meetings. Everyone answers 3 questions. What did you do yesterday? What will you do today? And is anything in your way? They are not status for the Scrum Master. They are commitment in front of peers. Sprint review. Each sprint is required to deliver a potentially shippable product increment. This means that at the end of each sprint, the team has produced a coded, tested, and usable piece of software. The team presents to management, customers, users, and product owner the product increment that has been built during the sprint. Sprint goal, product backlog committed, product backlog completed. The team tells story of the journey during the sprint, honestly. The majority of the sprint review is spent with team members presenting functionality, answering stakeholders' questions regarding the presentation. At the end of presentation, stakeholders are polled, one by one, to get their impressions, any desired changes, and priority of these changes. Product owner discuss with team about potential rearrangement of the product backlog based on the feedback. The team should not spend more than 1 hour preparing for sprint review. Functionality that is not done cannot be presented. Functionality should be presented and executed from development environment. Stakeholders are free to voice any comments, observation, or criticism regarding the increment of potential shippable product functionality. Stakeholders can identify functionality that was not delivered or was not delivered as expected and request that such functionality be placed in the product backlog for prioritization. Stakeholders can identify any new functionality that occurs to them as they view the presentation and request that the functionality be added to the product backlog for prioritization. The Scrum Master should determine the number of people who expect to attend the sprint review meeting and set up the meeting to accommodate them. At the end of sprint review meeting, Scrum Master announced the place and date for next sprint review to product owner and stakeholders. Sprint retrospective. The most important things about retrospective is to make sure they happen. This is the meeting at the end of each sprint, facilitated by Scrum Master, where the team review the sprint just completed and discuss that improves they would like to make to the next sprint to make it more productive. Process improvement made at the end of every sprint. All team members identified what went well and what can be improved. Process, communication, environment, artifacts, tools, team dynamic. Team devises their own solutions to problems. Assist with team formation and bonding as conflicts identified quickly and thus can be dealt with. Scrum Master checklist. The most common administrative routines is our Scrum Master. Stuff that is easy to forget. We skip the obvious things such as remove impediments from the team. Beginning of sprint. After the sprint planning meeting, create a sprint info page. Add a link to your page from the dashboard on the wiki. Print the page or put it on the wall where people pass by your team. Send an email to everyone announcing that a new sprint is started. Include the sprint goal and a link to the sprint info page. Update the sprint statistic document. Add your estimate velocity, time size, sprint length, etc. Every day. Make sure the daily Scrum meeting is started and ended on time. Make sure stories are added, removed from the sprint backlog as necessary to keep the sprint to schedule. Make sure the product owner is notified of these changes. Make sure the sprint backlog and burn down is kept up to date by the team. Make sure problems, impediments are solved or reported to product owner and or chief of development. End of sprint. Do an open sprint demo. Everyone should be notified about the demo a day or two before. Do a sprint retrospective with the whole team and product owner. Invite chief of development as well so he can help spread the lesson learned. Update the sprint statistic document. Add the actual velocity and key points from the retrospective. The end. Thanks to all.